afternoon's Fighting Saints New Year's Classic matchup between the visiting Saints of Thomas More University and your Fighting Saints. At this time, we ask that you please rise and gentlemen kindly remove your caps as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. At this time, let's meet the starting lineups. First, the visiting number 2 Saints of Thomas More. Sophomore number 12, Wyatt Lee. Sophomore guard number 14, Jacob Jones. Sophomore guard number 20, Casey George. Sophomore forward number 24, Kyle Ross. And a junior forward number 35, Noah Pack. Thomas More is coached by Justin Ray in his 12th season. And now the starting lineup for your Fighting Saints. The junior guard of the United Plus Israel, Wonderful Nadav Turner. The senior guard of Miami, Florida, number 55, Darius Wright. The graduate forward of Moquina, Illinois, number 13, B.J. Carl. The junior forward of Asante Orta, Spain, number 21, Hector Alicante. And the graduate forward of Macomb, Illinois, number 32, Carter Haley. Your Fighting Saints are coached by Ryan Marks.
Good afternoon and welcome inside the Sullivan Center here in Joliet, Illinois. We're on the campus of the University of St. Francis, where the Fighting Saints get set to begin a 4-game, 2-day event. It's the USF New Year's Classic as we say goodbye to 2022 with some excellent NAIA basketball here. The Fighting Saints start things off against Thomas More University today, the second-ranked team in the nation. Terry Bonadonna with you on the call for this afternoon's action as St. Francis returns home for the first time in a while. They've played their last 4 away from Joliet, and they return home for the first time in nearly a month. Aitor Anabadarte goes up against Noah Pack on the opening tip, which is won by Anabadarte and the Fighting Saints. The home team in white going from right to left. Thomas More, the visitors from Kentucky, wear black. They go from left to right, and they get a quick steal as Noah Pack deflects the ball into the hands of Wyatt Veith. So steal right off the bat for Thomas More. Good start for them as they begin their first possession of the game. Veith caught up in the air, gives it up to Kyle Ross on the outside, and Ross knocks down the 3. Kyle Ross getting his first start of the year, playing today in place of Thomas More's leading scorer this season, Reed Jolly. Here's Darius Wright bouncing it to Aitor Anabadarte, high post. He turns to face the basket with half the shot clock gone. Anabadarte and Darius Wright, the team's two leading scorers, playing a little two-man game early on. Here's the point guard from Israel, Nadav Gerner, drawing the contact, and a foul called by Casey George. Good start for Thomas More. Three-pointer on their first possession. They've already come away with a steal, but a foul here leads to a St. Francis inbounds play from the baseline with the shot clock resetting to 20. Darius Wright stuck in the corner, guarded by Jacob Jones, pulls it back outside. This is Gerner with the dribble gone. He gives it to Carter Fahey. Fahey drives on Pack all the way in, off the backboard, no good. And the rebound to Thomas More. They work it around the outside. Jones up to Noah Pack. Here's Jones on the drive around right, gets in low and gives it back outside. Three-point attempt for Pack is short. Rebound Anabadarte. Aitor Anabadarte is the leading rebounder this season for the Saints, averaging 9 per game. Second leading scorer, nearly 14 points per contest. Here's Darius Wright out on the wing. Gets the screen from Fahey. Dribbles in with the left hand. Floater off the glass, no good. And the rebound tipped into the hands of Kyle Ross. They turned it over on their first possession of the game. Saints have been able to get some good looks the last few times around, but they have not been able to turn those into points as Thomas More adds to their lead. 5-0 the score. First bucket since their first possession. E.J. Charles on the outside. Charles missed some time earlier this season with injury. Came back during the road swing as Darius Wright comes up short on the three. Rebound tipped into the hands of Casey George. Again, not a terrible look for St. Francis, but they're just not getting anything to fall right now. Good defense from Thomas More. Didn't get the offense they were looking for that time. A quick shot from Jacob Jones misses to the left. Saints basketball, nearly 3 minutes into the game, still looking for their first points. E.J. Charles backs in on Wyatt Veith. Charles spins along the baseline, and he's tripped up by Veith. A foul called on the floor. That's number 2 on Thomas More. First foul on Veith. It'll be an inbounds play for the baseline for the Fighting Saints. Nadav Gerner is the trigger man here. Into Carter Fahey, who lays it in. Fahey's on the board for the Saints, their first basket today. Back within one possession here. George drives on Gerner, floats it high off the backboard and in. Nicely done by Casey George that time. George has 2, Jones has 2. Here's a drive from Gerner off the glass, no good, and the rebound tipped into the hands of Noah Pack. Kyle Ross has 3 points so far today for Thomas More. The three-pointer gives him the leading total so far as E.J. Charles is called for the foul. Tripped up Casey George on the play. First foul against St. Francis, and the Fighting Saints will go to their bench for the first time as Rehana Maxwell-Topia sheds his warm-up shirt. And Justin Phillips checks in as well. Aitor Anabadarte and Nadav Gerner go to the bench. Jacob Jones will be the inbounder here as Justin Ray calls on his bench as well. Reed Jolly is in there for the first time. Jolly averaging right around 19 points per game to lead Thomas More. Coming off the bench for the first time this season. He had started the previous 12. Here's Jones with the shot clock at 7. Inside, Pack is stripped by Phillips, gets it back, forces one up and misses everything. Rebounded by Darius Wright. Here come the Fighting Saints. Wright flies to the hoop. Layup is good. Saints are again within 3. Just over 4 minutes into the action today. Been a little bit of a slow start offensively for both teams. That's allowed St. Francis to keep it close. Three-pointer way off from Kyle Ross, who hit one on the opening possession of the game. We've got a tie up on the rebound, and the possession arrow favors Thomas More because St. Francis won the opening tip. So it'll stay with Thomas More. 11 on the shot clock, which does not reset on the jump ball call. And Jacob Jones is the inbounder into Pack. Corner three for Veith. Barely grazed the rim. Ross tried to save it, but it's out of bounds. Thomas More was the #1 team in the nation for the first month or so of the season. Fallen on hard times lately, trying to bounce back today. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, one of them a blowout by 30 points against Freed Hardman. And their only win during that stretch came in overtime. Phillips for 3. Off the back iron, no good. Charles tips the rebound outside to himself. Well done by E.J. Charles. Fresh possession for the Fighting Saints. Charles fires the 3. A little bit too strong, and it hits the wires above the backboard. So that's out of bounds off the missed three-pointer. Credit to the Thomas More defense, but St. Francis has not played the offensive game that they'd like to so far. They've missed some open shots. Inside to Pack. Pack spins around the defender, no good. Well defended by Charles, who grabs the loose ball. E.J. Charles playing well these last few possessions, battling for everything that's up for grabs. Here's Charles well on the outside for the Fighting Saints. With the shot clock down to 15, right. Down to Charles in the post, working against Ross. Charles steps around Ross, shovels it off to Maxwell Topia. Contact, no foul as Rihanna Maxwell Topia misses the shot. Jacob Jones takes it the other way. Saints just 2 of 9 shooting so far today. The Thomas More Saints get back on the board on a Wyatt Veith three-pointer. They had been only 3 of 9 prior to that, but they have hit a couple of three-pointers now. St. Francis Saints have not. Carter Fahey down in the corner, fires inside to Darius Wright in a double team. Wright tries to score, but it's stripped by Reed Jolly. Thomas More trying to create some separation here. Jones on the drive, scoops it up and in. Beautiful drive from Jacob Jones, his second bucket of the game. And Thomas Moore's got its biggest lead today. 12-4 is our score, 6.5 minutes in. Not many stoppages so far in this game as Darius Wright receives the pass on the cut. Throws it outside. He was looking for Charles. Fahey saves it. And out to Darius Wright. His pass is intercepted by Veith. Jones goes the other way, tripped up by E.J. Charles, and that's Charles' second foul. He was coming out anyway, but now with 2 fouls, E.J. Charles will have to sit down for a while. As Ryan Marks goes to his bench and calls on 4 new players. Casimir Ochiaka is in. Jake Carley makes an appearance. Lewis McGlasson, the sharpshooter, checks in, as well as Ben Kritz. Justin Phillips is the only man who remains on the floor. So that means all 5 players out there are subs right now for Ryan Marks' squad. Here's Jolly, first shot of the game, and it comes up short. Phillips on the run. Beautiful pass ahead to Jake Carley. Carley's blocked from behind by Jolly. Thomas More is on the run. It's Veith to Ross. And now Ross slows it down a tad. Thomas More will run their half-court game here. Thomas More is an excellent defensive team. They've showed it so far today. And now starting to heat up on the offensive end as well as Ross fires a jumper from the free throw line, a little bit strong. The rebound goes to Ochiaka. Ochiaka takes it down the floor himself. Takes it all the way into Pack and loses control. Ochiaka went coast to coast there slowly, but never gave the ball up, ended up turning it over. And a three-pointer for Casey George on the other side makes it a double-digit lead for Thomas More. Timeout called by the Fighting Saints. Of course, both teams in this game go by the moniker Saints. Doing my best to keep them straight. The St. Francis Fighting Saints just 2 of 10 from the field now, and they've turned it over 4 times, including back-to-back possessions, struggling very much on the offensive end so far. Thomas More on the season gives up just 62 points per game. They allow their opponents to shoot only 27% from beyond the three-point line, where St. Francis so far today has gone 0 of 3. You don't get to be 10-2 and score just 71 points per game without being pretty good on defense. 71 points per game, not a terrible number, but it's certainly nowhere near the top of the stat sheet as far as NAIA programs are concerned. Thomas More is a school that has made their bones defensively. Actually, I'm a little disappointed we won't see them play Madonna this week. Madonna, one of the 4 schools here, as St. Francis breaks the press across to Justin Phillips. That'll be St. Francis' opponent tomorrow, and they are a high-scoring team. Carly, air ball on the 3. Rebound, Ochiaka, blocked out of bounds. It'll stay with the Saints. But this defense from Thomas More has been awfully impressive so far. 13 on the shot clock. Phillips into McGlasson. Lewis McGlasson with his foot on the line, misses the long two-point jumper. Rebound to the team in black. Here's Jolly. Jolly drives all the way, and he's blocked from behind by Kazmir Ochiaka. Big defensive play by the Fighting Saints. Ben Kreitz sets it up. Walks to the right. Here's Carly. Carly feigns the 3, gives it up top to Ochiaka. Handoff back to Jake Carly, curling inside. Gives it into the post. It's Ochiaka up with the left hand and in. That's a big bucket for the Fighting Saints. They had gone a while without scoring, but now back within 9. For as well as Thomas More has played on defense, Fighting Saints have held their own on the defensive end of the court for their part. So Thomas More has not been able to pull away. And we've still got a relatively tight ball game here as the ball is knocked loose, but into the hands of Ross. Ross fights his way inside, misses off the rim. Rebound St. Francis. So another defensive stop for the Fighting Saints. Thomas More shooting just 38% from the field as McGlasson misses another 3. He's now 0 of 2 from the field. And St. Francis is 0 of 5 from three-point range. Here's Jolly on the outside. Jolly is fouled by McGlasson. McGlasson's first jumper had his foot on the line, so he's 0 for 1 from three-point range. But as the Saints try to find their touch from the outside, that's a guy they'd like to get going. 42% as a three-point shooter this year. Aitor Anabarate checks back in for the Fighting Saints. Another guy they'd like to see get going, not necessarily from the outside, but he's been one of the key contributors for the Saints all season. Jolly spins his way inside. Tough defense from McGlasson, but Jolly scores over him. First points of the game for Reed Jolly. Thomas More was able to open up an 11-point lead early on without Jolly really contributing at all. Their leading scorer this season, averaging 19 points per contest. Here's Anabarate, one-on-one with Jolly inside, and Aitor Anabarate scores off the glass. Jolly had good defense there, but Anabarate is able to score over him anyway. His first points of the afternoon. And St. Francis has now scored in 2 of their last 3 possessions. Jolly gets the pass inside from Scotty Dowd. Bounce to a cutting Pack. Pack misses on the dunk, but he's fouled going up. So he'll head to the free throw line. Noah Pack, just a 60% foul shooter. So sending him to the line, probably better than giving him an easy dunk, but that's foul number 2 on McGlasson. He becomes the second Saint with 2 fouls. First free throw misses. Just 4 fouls total from St. Francis, but they've come from only 2 people, McGlasson and Charles. Carter Fahey is in for Kazmir Ochiaka. McGlasson, at least for the time being, will stay in with his 2 fouls. Both free throws miss. Rebound Fahey. So Thomas More continues to struggle a bit on the offensive side. Their 9-point lead is the effect of excellent defense. Pass to a cutting Anabadarte, layup no good. A lot of contact high on that play, but Anabadarte is not sent to the free throw line. Casey George loses the ball, and it's scooped out of the air by Darius Wright. Carter Fahey steps into a three-point attempt. That's off the mark. Saints now 0 of 6 from three-point range. And the rebound is tipped into the hands of Scotty Dowd, a redshirt freshman transfer from Kentucky Wesleyan. Very low-scoring first half continues as Thomas More tries to make it a 10-point lead once again. They do. Reed Jolly on the layup inside actually makes an 11-point game, which matches the largest today for Thomas More. Third time they've been ahead by as many as 11 points. Anabadarte finds Jake Carley. Bounced over to Carter Fahey. Darius Wright with 8 to shoot. Around a screen, Wright picks up his dribble, fires across court, McGlasson. Shot clock running down, McGlasson drives, off balance shot, no good. Rebounded by Wyatt Veith. Thomas More in control of this one early. Their 11-point lead is their biggest so far today. Trying to make it 13, they do. On a beautiful cut from Reed Jolly. Noah Pack found him on the pass, and Jolly lays it in. He's now leading all scorers with 6 points. Came into the game late, but he's made up for lost time. Here's Darius Wright on the drive into traffic, and an offensive foul called on Wright as the Fighting Saints turn it over again. .7:45 to play in the first half. That's the 5th turnover for St. Francis. Their bigger offensive problem is their 21% shooting so far, including 0 for 7 from three-point range. Thomas Moore's picked it up a little bit on the offensive side, shooting around 50%, both overall and from the outside. Jones drives and lays it in. So Jacob Jones is back on the board, his second bucket. And all of a sudden, it's a 15-point lead for Thomas More. They've scored 6 consecutive. And for the first time today, they've scored on 3 straight possessions. Darius Wright bounces down low. Aitor Anabadarte double teamed. Anabadarte fights his way out of the double team, lays it up, no good. Rebound Noah Pack. Jones drives, baseline, blocked by Anabadarte. Big defensive stop for the Fighting Saints. Can they turn it into offense on the other end? Darius Wright misses on the layup. He got out in front of the pack, but was not able to finish. And on the other end, Casey George knocks down the jumper. Timeout called by St. Francis. 6:43 to play. All Thomas More here in the first half. Fighting Saints shooting just 19% from the field now. Thomas More is at 50%. They've turned it over only one time. And they are very much in control of this one. I mentioned before, this is a Thomas More team that has struggled after a 9-0 start. Their last 3 games have featured 2 losses, one of them a 30-point defeat, and just 1 overtime win. They're playing their first non-conference game in a month and a half, over a month and a half today. And so far enjoying it. St. Francis has not had anything come easily for them all game. And that tough defense of Thomas More has really hurt the Fighting Saints throughout this one. But up until the last couple of minutes, the Saints were keeping it close thanks to their strong defensive effort. All of a sudden now, Thomas More is pouring in the points. And they've opened up a 17-point lead here. St. Francis looking to go on a run before halftime to make this one a little bit more manageable. E.J. Charles with 2 fouls back on the floor. And we've got a foul called on the defense away from the ball. This is on Noah Pack. The first on Pack and just the 3rd on the team. Nadav Gurner looks to get it in. Finds Carter Fahey. Fahey off the inbounds pass, scores over Scotty Dowd. Much needed bucket right there for the Fighting Saints. And now they need a stop. 4 points for Fahey. Ross fakes the three, drives, throws it out of bounds. He was looking for Drought on the cut, the two of them not exactly on the same page. And now St. Francis has a chance to capture a little momentum. They got a bucket and a stop, forcing a turnover. And now a chance to score twice in a row. Nadav Gerner around the screen. Works his way inside. Layup is good for Nadav Gerner. 4 in a row for the Fighting Saints, who had been just 4 of 21 from the field. And now they've made their last 2 buckets, both of them on layups. And an offensive foul called on Thomas Moore. Noah Pack is whistled for the moving screen. That's 2 fouls on Pack. He's picked them both up in the last minute of game time. And after turning it over just once in the first 13 and a half minutes, Thomas Moore has turned it over on back-to-back trips down the floor. Now the Fighting Saints try to make it a 7-0 run. Darius Wright knocks down the three. First success from the outside today for St. Francis, and they are back to within 10. They have nearly doubled their point total from the first 13 minutes. And just the last 60 seconds or so, Drought answers from the corner. A huge three-pointer for Scotty Drought after St. Francis had seized the momentum away from them. Drought and Thomas Moore come back out on top with a three. Now a lob into Aitor Anabadarte. The alley-oop came in a little bit low, and he comes up short on it. Thomas Moore trying to regain control of the game. George misses short on the three-pointer. Gerner, the junior point guard, grabs the rebound. On the run, gives it up to Anabadarte, and he's fouled going up for the dunk. Matt Smith, sophomore forward who just checked in, is called for his first foul. Fifth foul on Thomas Moore, and now a good free throw shooter. Aitor Anabadarte heads to the line. First one is good. Anabadarte has been the best free throw shooter this season for St. Francis at 81%. Not only is he the best at making them, he's far and away the best at taking attempts. He's got more than twice the number of free throws of anybody else on the team as he knocks both of them down here. Makes it a single-digit deficit again. 28-17. Jones kicks it outside. George stepped on the sideline. Things have gotten a little bit sloppy for Thomas Moore over the last couple of minutes as they turn it over for the 4th time. Three-pointer would make this just a 6-point game here. The Saints have made only one of them today, but they're shooting the ball much better over the last few minutes. Aitor Anabadarte at the free throw line. Dribbles once, fakes the handoff to Charles, now gives it up to E.J. Charles. Charles loses his dribble, but gets it back. Shot clock under 10. Charles backs in. Jump into the paint, comes up short on the shot. Rebound tipped out of bounds, last touched by St. Francis. Just about 4 minutes to play in the first half, and if nothing else, St. Francis has weathered the storm. It looked like Thomas Moore was getting set to pull away and make this one a blowout going into halftime. Right now, the Saints are very much in shooting range. Given up down low from Veith to Jolly, knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Reed Jolly. Gerner passes off to Wright. High post, it's Anabadarte, who hands it right back to Darius Wright. Down low, it's Carter Fahey. Fahey, turnaround jumper, can't get the roll. Rebound, E.J. Charles down on the floor, and he calls timeout. A heady play by E.J. Charles, who wrapped it up and was able to call for a timeout in order to keep possession on St. Francis's side. They'll have 20 seconds on the shot clock coming out of the timeout. It is a full timeout with 3:19 to play in the half. 5 points so far for Darius Wright. Leads the scoring for St. Francis. Thomas Moore paced so far by Casey George, who's got 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Both of these teams are pretty balanced when it comes to scoring. Saints have 3 players averaging better than 13 points per game, but nobody averaging as many as 15 this year, whereas Thomas Moore has 4 different players on the season averaging 10 points or better, and that does not include Wyatt Veith, who's just below that number at 9.8. So both of these teams can find scorers from a lot of different places, and they have so far today. Thomas Moore, 50% from the field, 4 of 8 from three-point range. St. Francis started the day out just 4 of 21. Since then, they're 3 for their last 7. They missed their first 6 three-pointers, but made their last one, so they're 1 of 7 so far in the ball game. Other than shooting, numbers are pretty even. Looking at the stats right now, rebounds 17-16 in favor of St. Francis. Turnovers 5-5. Each team has committed 5 fouls. Really, it's just that one stat that has separated the two teams so far. Thomas Moore has been able to make half their shots. St. Francis only a quarter. And down by 9 as a result. Lobbed in for Anabadarte. Quickly double team. Shovels it off to Fahey, who's got a wide open layup. With Anabadarte double teamed, he knew there was an open man somewhere, and he found him. Carter Fahey's got 6 now. Fighting Saints trail by just 7, and they'll get the ball back as Jacob Jones is called for the travel. Dragged that back foot. It's a 9-point game here. Called it a 7-point deficit for the Saints, but that layup from Fahey made it 28-19. Gerner gets the screen, moving to his right. Picks it up, tries to bank it home, and does. Off the little roll from the rim. Nadav Gerner's got 4 points. Gerner came in to play today, averaging 4 per game, and he's hit that here in the first half. Jones kicks it outside. Kyle Ross, open 3. Can't get it. And that deflects over the backboard out of bounds off the high bounce from the rim. Jake Carley is in for E.J. Charles. Now that St. Francis has weathered the storm, Ryan Marks has decided to bring Charles back to the bench to protect him with those 2 fouls. USF breaks the full court press, a light press from Thomas Moore that time. Anabadarte dunks it in on the reverse. And Aitor Anabadarte pulls St. Francis as close as they've been in a while, 28-23 in the final 2 minutes of the first half. Ross backs in on Fahey. Ross fights it up and misses. Fahey grabs the rebound. St. Francis can make this a 1-score game. Bounce to the cutting, Darius Wright, push from behind, and he finishes. Off a nice feed from Fahey, Darius Wright able to finish strong at the rim. 28-25 the score, and Wright can make it a 2-point game from the free throw. He's a 79% shooter from the line this year. And before he takes the shot, a timeout is called. First timeout called by Thomas Moore today. It's been pretty smooth sailing for them. But if you take away one stretch of about 2 minutes earlier this half, they really have not played all that well on the offensive end. It has been a defensive struggle throughout this game. Very low scoring to start. Thomas Moore made their run. St. Francis has responded with a run of their own. And now they are a Darius Wright free throw away from making it a 2-point game very late in this first half. Nice work by the Fighting Saints so far today, facing one of the top teams in the nation. Thomas More went all the way to the national semifinals a year ago, and we're expected to repeat that run this year. Preseason #1 team in the country, the NAIA level. They remain #1 up until a couple of weeks ago when they dropped back-to-back games to Shawnee State and Freed Hardeman, both on the road. They fell to the #2 spot in the polls, where they sit right now. Actually, the new rankings have not come out since their second loss, so you'd think they'll probably drop a few more places next time the voting is revealed, but still sitting in the #2 spot for right now. Darius Wright made the impressive layup just before the timeout, and now to make it a three-point play. Three-point play that took over a minute of real time to complete. Darius Wright will take it. He's got 8 points to lead all scorers today. And it's a 2-point game with 90 seconds to play in the first half. Reed Jolly drives to his right. Fadeaway off the glass and in. Nice move by Reed Jolly. Jolly's got 8 points to match Darius Wright for a game high. Nadav Gerner fires to Anabadarte at the free throw line. Aitor turns to face the basket, driving on Jolly, pulls up underneath, and forces it in. Aitor Anabadarte has been very strong inside these last several minutes, and now he's got 8 points as well as we move into the final minute of play for the first half. Jolly, step back jumper is good. Impressive showing offensively for Reed Jolly today. He's now got 10 points in just 12 minutes, 5 of 7 from the field. About 8 seconds separate the shot and game clocks here. St. Francis will run a little clock before making their move. Darius Wright driving to the left side, right all the way to the hoop, lays it in, and all of a sudden, you've got a back and forth offensive game, something we have not seen all throughout this first half. It's turned into a much different style of play the last few minutes. Down to the final 10 seconds of the half. Saints do have one foul to give here. They come up with the strip. Carly ahead for Nadav Gerner with the clock running down. Gerner lays it in, and we're tied at halftime. How about that? A comeback for St. Francis. They were down by 15 points, and they force it even 32-32 going into the break. Nice work by the Fighting Saints down the stretch, and we'll have a brand new ball game over the final 20 minutes when we come out of this halftime intermission. 15 minutes on the clock for the halftime break, and I'll be back after that. I'll get you some first half stats and break down the second half as it comes. Good one going here today. Game 1 of 4 this week for the USF New Year's Classic. 32-32, St. Francis and Thomas More at halftime. We're just about ready to start the second half. Just about a minute or so away from the beginning of half number 2 here at St. Francis. The Fighting Saints taking on the Saints of Thomas More University. First all-time meeting between these two schools. Terry Bonadonna with you on the call for the second half of action. It was a very exciting first half of basketball. Thomas More appeared to be running away early on. They had a 17-point lead with just under 7 minutes to play. And then all of a sudden, St. Francis got hot. A Fighting Saints team that made just 4 of their first 21 shots, went 10 for 14 from the field to close out the first half, and that included converting on their last 7 field goals in a row, a streak that they carry into the second half with them as they fought their way back to tie. First time we've been tied since the score was 0-0. Leading scorers in the first half, Reed Jolly led the way for Thomas More with 10 points. Kyle Ross had 5 rebounds, 7 points for Casey George for Thomas More. For St. Francis, Darius Wright had 10 points, 8 for Aitor Anabadarte. Carter Fahey and E.J. Charles had 4 rebounds apiece. And it was a good first half for Nadav Gerner. 6 points on 3 of 4 shooting and a couple of assists as well in just 11 minutes played. Biggest stat probably in the first half, points in the paint 26-10 in favor of the Fighting Saints. They were working the ball inside frequently, and it's a good thing they started to have success in there because they went just 1 of 7 shooting 3-pointers in the first half compared to Thomas More's 4 of 9. Thomas More shooting 50% from the field overall so far today. Let's get things going here in the second half. St. Francis gets the ball first. They flip sides, going from left to right now. And Nadav Gerner sets up the offense with the 5 starters on the floor for both teams. Actually, I take that back. Reed Jolly starts the second half on the floor for Thomas More after he did not start the game. Carter Fahey, guarded by Noah Pack with 10 on the shot clock. Dribbles to the right side. Shot clock is down to 5 as Fahey fires up a jumper and misses. First missed shot in the last 8 attempts for St. Francis as they are unable to take their first lead of the game. And now it's Thomas More for the first time this half, and Reed Jolly knocks down the jumper from just inside the arc. Jolly's got a game-high 12 points, and he puts Thomas More back in front. Again, St. Francis has not led in this game. In fact, Thomas More has led for all but about 15 seconds in this game. Darius Wright is tripped up. Thomas More scored on their first possession of the game, a 3-pointer. And then they led all the way until Nadav Gerner hit a layup as time expired in the first half. So that tie, which we just saw on the opening possession of the second half, that's the only time we've been tied today. Gerner gets it into Carter Fahey off the foul. Foul was called on Jacob Jones, and it was his second. So both teams now have multiple players with 2 fouls. Carter Fahey fights inside, kicks it out to E.J. Charles. Open shot, rims out. Rebound fought for and won by Reed Jolly. Jolly sat the first 6 minutes of today's game. But the leading scorer on the season for Thomas More is made up for lost time. 3-pointer from the corner is good for Casey George. Take that back, that was Wyatt Veith who hit that 3-pointer. Wyatt Veith has 6 points for the game now. St. Francis's momentum they carried into halftime has not carried over, but that's a big 3 from Darius Wright. So Wright responds to the 3-pointer hit by Wyatt Veith on the other end. Wright's got 13 now. And St. Francis is quickly back within 2. Wright picks the pocket of Noah Pack. He's all alone on the other end of the floor and lays it in. 5 in a row for Darius Wright, and we're tied again. 37 all here early in the second half. The game has certainly picked up a little bit more of a flow than it had in the first half as Veith misses on the 3. It was a very slow start offensively for both teams in this game. And the pace has picked up considerably. St. Francis had just 8 points 13 minutes into the game. And they've scored 29 in the 10 minutes since. Nadav Gerner in traffic, loses the ball out of bounds, last touched by Thomas Moore. Jake Carley comes on for E.J. Charles. 7 on the shot clock here for the Saints. Inbounded to Aitor Anabadarte, double teamed. Anabadarte scores and a foul. And for the first time today, St. Francis has the lead. Anabadarte was hounded in the post there. Able to get the shot off anyway. And now a chance for a three-point play for Aitor Anabadarte, who's into double figures with 10 points. And there's number 11. He's 3 of 3 from the line today. Three-point lead for St. Francis. They're on an 8-0 run. First time they've been ahead all game. Jones lost the ball, but it found Noah Pack. Right back to Jacob Jones. Here's Casey George on the baseline. Jones picks up his dribble. Leaner for Jones misses. And the rebound is brought down by Casey George. Nice job to set up a second chance. Three-pointer misses for Noah Pack. Here's Fahey pushing it ahead to right. Anabadarte on the run, lays it in. Beautifully done in transition from the Fighting Saints. It's a 10-0 run. Here's Jones firing down low. Pack working against Fahey. Fouled and scores. Big time bucket for Noah Pack. Just when his team needed it the most. Thomas Moore had led the entire way before that 10-0 run from St. Francis, which has now been interrupted. First points of the game for Noah Pack. We'll try to make it 3 points here. A guy who averages 12 per game. He is 0 for 2 at the free throw line so far in this one. And is about to get his third attempt. Right after the floor is wiped up. Seems to be clean enough. Foul shot from Pack is good. So it's a 3-point play and now a 2-point game. 16 minutes to play, a lot of time left in this game. And it's turned into a good one. Didn't look that way early. But St. Francis has turned up their offensive game. Carter Fahey loses the ball, gets it back around Pack, off the glass, no. Rebound to Thomas Moore. Here's Jacob Jones. Lobbing it up high. Jolly down low to Pack. Pack is fouled. A little bit of a push from Carter Fahey. So Fahey is whistled for his second. And he checks out. Casimir Ochiaka is in. So is Justin Phillips. Nadav Gerner sits. Jolly in the corner working against Ochiaka. Turnaround jumper is good, and he's fouled by Ochiaka. And Thomas Moore can reclaim the lead. Reed Jolly is now 7 of 9 shooting. And this would be his 15th point of the game if he converts. Which he does. Back-to-back three-point plays for Thomas Moore. Both of them the old-fashioned way. They have responded to St. Francis' 10-0 run with 6 straight of their own. Darius Wright across court to Jake Carley. Aitor Anabadarte double team. Ball knocked loose along the sideline. Carly scoops it up. 5 to shoot. Phillips fires the three. Too strong. Rebounded by Jacob Jones, and Jones is fouled by Darius Wright. Wright's second foul. 4th on the team. Darius Wright, E.J. Charles, Carter Fahey, and Lewis McGlasson all have 2 fouls for St. Francis. Nobody has yet picked up their third. Wyatt Veith knocks down the three. That's 3 straight three-point plays for Thomas More, and their lead is 4. Carly to Anabadarte. Jake Carly, wide open shot from the corner, way off. Amazingly, St. Francis is down by just 4. A carry called on Jacob Jones. A rare open court turnover. St. Francis is down by just 4, and even more amazingly, they just had a 5-point lead. And they've done all that while hitting only 2 3-pointers all game. Thomas More has 6. Lewis McGlasson and Ben Kreitz are back in. So once again, Ryan Marks plays with 5 subs on the floor. McGlasson for 3. That's off the mark. Rebound knocked out of bounds, though, by Jacob Jones. Frustrated with himself as he tapped it out. Another chance here for the Fighting Saints. Shot clock did not reset. It was hard to tell if McGlasson's shot may have grazed the rim, but apparently not. This is Ochiaka. Ochiaka flips it up and in. His second field goal today. It snaps a little bit of a drought for St. Francis. The 9-0 run for Thomas More is over. Well, we've got ourselves a 2-point game here. Noah Pack hands it off to Wyatt Veith, looking for help, finds George. Jolly gets around Kreitz and lays it in. 17 for Reed Jolly. He's missed only 2 shots all game. Carly finds Phillips on the left wing. Phillips around the screen, cuts his way down low. Layup, no, but an offensive rebound. Ochiaka back up and in. Hard-fought points for Casimir Ochiaka, who's scored the last 4 for St. Francis and now has 6 in the game. Fighting Saints are keeping it close. They've led this one just once. A lead they held for less than 2 minutes overall. But George very nearly stepped out of bounds there. He gives it up down low to Pack, and Noah Pack is fouled. Third foul on Lewis McGlasson, who becomes the first player on the team to pick up his third. Pack back to the line. He's 1 of 3 shooting foul shots today. Couple of big free throws here. Still almost 13 minutes to play in this game. But Thomas More has been difficult to stop on the offensive end lately. They've got a chance for another 2-point possession right here. As Noah Pack gears up for his first free throw and misses it. It's been costly for Thomas More so far today. He's just 1 of 4 shooting from the line. The rest of the team combined has only taken 1 free throw. Free throws have not been a big part in today's game, but the Saints are a perfect 4 for 4. Well, the Thomas More Saints are now 2 of 6. Offensive rebound, though, Kyle Ross. Ross back up with the right hand and in. Huge for Thomas More off the missed free throws. Their lead is back to 4. Second chance points have not been much of a factor in this game. Those are the first ones for Thomas More. St. Francis has 6. Carly into the corner for Kreitz.
Shot clock is at 5 for Lewis McGlasson. McGlasson drives with the right hand, kicks it into the corner. Kreitz doesn't see the clock, and it's a shot clock violation. Matt Smith back in for Thomas More. He played 3 minutes in the first half. Cutting his way inside. George, pull-up jumper. Gets the rim, no good, and the rebound tipped into the hands of Ochiaka. Ochiaka bounces to the cutting Ben Kreitz, who misses the reverse layup. Couldn't have been set up any better, just wasn't quite able to finish. And now the fourth foul called on Lewis McGlasson. 50-46 is our score here. Timeout called by Thomas More with 11:37 to play. St. Francis has been going with their subs the last few minutes. They've held their own, but haven't had the same offensive rhythm that the starters did earlier this half when Fighting Saints were able to make their move. Lewis McGlasson is 0 of 4 shooting today. Jake Carley 0 of 3. Justin Phillips is 0 for 3. We saw Ben Kreitz just a moment ago miss on the reverse layup. That was his first field goal attempt of the game. But of the 5 currently on the floor, only Kazimir Ochiaka has been able to do anything on the offensive end. He's 3 of 4 shooting. 6 points in the game for a guy who had been averaging just 3 points per contest coming in. So good work from him, but by and large, it's been the starters who have done the lion's share of the work. Specifically, Darius Wright and Aitor Anabadarte have carried the day for St. Francis. Those two guys have gone a combined 11 of 17 from the field, while everyone else has gone a combined 9 of 32. St. Francis shooting 41% overall. Thomas More is at 54%. The thing really keeping the Fighting Saints in the game right now, they've turned it over only 6 times. And the majority of those came in the first 10 minutes. The last 19, they predicted it really well. E.J. Charles is called. No, he's not. It's over and back. Thought they were going to get Charles on a push there. As Matt Smith went across the half-court line, but in fact, the backcourt violation is called. It's the 10th turnover of the game committed by Thomas More, and a big stop for St. Francis coming out of the break. E.J. Charles is the only starter back on the floor as he came on for Lewis McGlasson. He just picked up his 4th foul. Nice find by Charles. Ben Kreitz finishes with the layup. Kreitz has been moving great without the ball these last few possessions. Wasn't able to finish the layup last time around. This time he is, as Charles picks up the assist. And now Charles picks up his 3rd foul. 2-point game. St. Francis, though, just picked up their 7th foul. And so Thomas More is in the bonus. One and one here for Casey George. George is just a 59% foul shooter for the season. So the Saints will be ready for the rebound. Rolls around the rim and falls. Just 3 of 7 from the line so far today, Thomas More, but free throws figured to play a pretty big impact the rest of the way. Considering we've got over 11 minutes to play and they're already in the bonus. 1 of 2. The rebound goes to Ochiaka, who immediately falls to the ground. So he picks up his 5th rebound of the game, but the 7th turnover of the day for St. Francis. Ryan Marks is calling for a held ball, but I think that the two guys who were tussling for that ball were Ochiaka and E.J. Charles. They're on the same team. So it is a turnover on the traveling call. 3-pointer for Wyatt Veep is good. What a big turnaround right there. After it looked like St. Francis had gotten the rebound off the missed free throw. Instead, it becomes a turnover and a 3-point play for Thomas More. Charles on the drive, not quite able to finish, but he takes the contact from Matt Smith, and E.J. Charles will go to the line. 2 shots for Charles here. He is 10 of 16 from the line so far this season. He misses the first free throw. First miss from the line today for St. Francis, who had made their first 4. He makes 1 of 2. It's a 5-point game. Thomas More has led by as many as 17. Biggest lead for St. Francis was 5. That was earlier this half. And there's another foul on E.J. Charles, and that's his 4th. And that's a bad one for Charles to pick up his 4th foul that far from the basket on just a bump from behind. You could see the frustration on his face. And he will likely have to check out here. Both Charles and McGlasson now have 4 fouls. Jones makes the first of 2 free throws. It's a 1 and 1, so by making the first, he gets the second. Free throws as predicted have played a big part down the stretch here, just in these last 30 seconds. Another miss, knocked out of bounds, we're going the other way. Ben Kreitz up top to Jake Carley. Carley puts it on the floor, drives, loses his footing and the ball. Kyle Ross takes it the other way. Ross pulls it back. Nice transition defense from the Fighting Saints. And Thomas More sets up the offense. George passes off to his left. This is Jones lobbing it to the free throw line, and Matt Smith. Into the corner, Veith, nice fake, steps inside the 3-point line, misses the 2-point jumper. Offensive rebound, Kyle Ross. Another chance here for Thomas More. Jones pulls up, kicks it out. Veith, another good fake, steps into an open 3 and drains it. 9-point lead for Thomas More. This is as big as it's been here in the second half. Fighting Saints need a basket here. E.J. Charles backs it on Ross. Off the double team, he passes to Phillips. Phillips drives and lays it in traffic. Timeout called by St. Francis. Ryan Marks got what he wanted there. A big bucket from Phillips, and now able to pull his team to the side and talk it over. Down by 7, 58-51, with just under 9.5 minutes to play in the second half. Fighting Saints trailed by 17 early. The score was 25-8 with 6.5 minutes to play in the first half before the Saints went on their big run. They closed out the first half, outscoring Thomas More 24-7, and were able to tie the game up going into halftime, 32 all. But here in the second half, Thomas Moore's been able to seize control back. Didn't start that way. Saints down by 5, went on a 10-0 run to move ahead by 5. That's their biggest lead that they've had today. But from that point on, Thomas More has outscored St. Francis 21-9. And then it had been 21-7 until that big bucket from Phillips. That layup from Justin Phillips was his first of the game. Came in averaging just 2 points per contest, but he shoots well. Phillips and Nadav Gurner, the point guards, 2 of the 3 point guards we've seen a lot from this year for St. Francis. Jalen Reno being the other, have both shot the ball really well all season, but neither one of them really looks to create offense for himself. Gurner is back on the floor right now. There's a guy who's averaging only 4 points per game this season. He's got 6 today. He's shooting 67% from the field this year, including 3 for 4 in this one. Charles stays in the game with 4 fouls, guarding the point guard, and he jumps the passing lane, trying to steal it away. Charles leaps over the scorer's table and appears to be all right. And so is everybody at the scorer's table, so good news all around. It was a big play from E.J. Charles, but not quite able to save it. Good anticipation of that pass. But it is still Thomas More basketball with 14 seconds. Well, they got 14 on the shot clock. The possession had just started. I wasn't watching the clock closely, but I don't think 16 seconds had gone off. Oh, 19 apparently. I guess I could be wrong. The shot clock is at 11. Down to the corner, Veith for three, good. That guy is getting hot. Wyatt Veith, 6 for 8 on three-pointers in the game, and now he's got 18 points. A handful of those threes have come in just the last few minutes. Charles down low against Veith. Turnaround, foul. Second foul on Reed Jolly. It's just the fourth on Thomas More. The Saints still have a ways to go before they reach the bonus, but 2 shots on this one, a shooting foul. And the first attempt falls for E.J. Charles. Second shot misses. Fahey fighting for the rebound, and he pulls it in. Another chance for the Fighting Saints. Gerner over to Fahey. Fahey drives on Veith. He's bumped by Veith and fouled. (61-52). Charles made the first of his 2 free throws before Fahey grabbed the rebound on the miss. This could be a 3 or a 4-point possession for St. Francis, but it isn't. It's a 1-point possession. The ball is taken away by Thomas More. Veith off to George. George drives, picks it up, back out to Veith. That's the hot hand, but he gives it up. Noah Pack bounces to the cutting Reed Jolly. Jolly got caught underneath the basket and blocked by the bottom of the rim. Here's Carter Fahey. Passed off to E.J. Charles. Charles steps back, bounces low to Darius Wright. Wright is double teamed, stripped by Jacob Jones out of bounds. Gerner's the inbounder with 12 to shoot. Lobbed in for Aitor Anabadarte. Anabadarte in some trouble, double dribbles. Saints turn it over for the 10th time today. 4 turnovers in the last 3 minutes for St. Francis. They had committed just 2 in the last about 20 minutes prior to that. Still, the offense has been much stronger for both sides here in the second half. George gives it up to Jolly. Jones resets from the outside. 10 on the shot clock. Reed Jolly drives on Aitor Anabadarte. Can't get the roll on the shot. Offensive rebound. Jolly short once again. E.J. Charles grabs the rebound, but it's stripped, and Thomas More gets it back. Wyatt Veith for 3. Rolls around the rim and does not fall. Ball is loose. Saved by Jones. Veith does not pull the trigger on another 3-point attempt. He slows it down. 4th opportunity of the possession for Thomas More. Jolly backs in with the shot clock running out. Flips it up and misses. Saints force Thomas More to go 0 of 4 shooting on that possession. Offensive foul called on E.J. Charles, and he's fouled out. Jacob Jones takes the charge. And so E.J. Charles is done for the day. 6:43 to play. Ryan Marks frustrated by the call. He'll have to go to the bench here. Has not called for a sub just yet. Lewis McGlasson has 4 fouls. And so they call on Jake Carley. Now Carly is able to check in. 61-52. Thomas More has the lead. 6:43 to play. Casey George hit from behind by Nadav Gerner. 10th foul on St. Francis, so this will be the double bonus. George so far today, 1 of 2 from the line. Thomas Moore's team is shooting just 40%. Make it 37% on that miss. They're 4 of 11. In fact, their struggles from the free throw line are maybe the biggest reason right now that St. Francis is still in this game, as the Fighting Saints have slowed down on the offensive end, trying to regain the rhythm they had late in the first half and early in the second. Darius Wright has it poked away out of bounds. It stays with St. Francis. Carly into Aitor Anabarate. Here's Nadav Gerner. 6 points in the first half. Hasn't attempted a shot here in the second. Gerner gives it to Carter Fahey with the shot clock at 6. Fahey drives. Fahey, step back jumper, rims around and falls. Big bucket for Carter Fahey. Fahey's got 8. Under 6 minutes to play in this game. Thomas More is trying to put St. Francis away once and for all. Fighting Saints have hung around. Here's Veith. Off to Reed Jolly. Jolly backs in on Anabarate. Kicked up top, Noah Pack. Pack throws it out of bounds. He was looking for the cutting Jolly, but Anabarate cut him off, and so Jolly was not able to see his way through to that ball. Turnover committed by Thomas More, and now a big offensive possession for St. Francis. Gerner down low to Fahey. Fahey drives. Fahey in the paint. Gives it up to the cutting Gerner. Layup is good. Nice dish by Fahey. Good movement by Nadav Gerner, who's got 8 points now. And he pulls St. Francis within 6. Jacob Jones up top to Reed Jolly. Down low, it's Pack. Pack up with the right hand, short. Rebound by Gerner. Here come the Fighting Saints. Fahey drives. Little floater from Fahey along the baseline, no good. Knocked out of bounds by Thomas More. Ben Kreitz is back in. Aitor Anabarate sits down. Gerner lobs it in to Darius Wright. Step back 3 for Wright. Off the back iron, rebounded by Jones. Crucial stop on that last possession for Thomas More. Now they can make it a 3-score game once again. Jones gives it up to Jolly. Big game for Jolly. He's been quiet of late, though. Reed Jolly backing in. Turnaround jumper is good. 19 points for Jolly. He had missed his last 4 field goal attempts prior to that one. Lob for Kreitz, who catches it on the baseline and throws it right into the hands of Wyatt Veith. A mistake committed by the Fighting Saints there and a costly turnover. Thomas More just looking to salt this one away now. Veith to a wide open Pack, who loses it out of bounds. Huge break for St. Francis. After a defensive breakdown, Noah Pack was all alone for a wide open layup, and the ball just slipped right out of his hands. 12th turnover committed by Thomas More. Three and a half minutes to play. And Justin Phillips is back on the floor for St. Francis along with Aitor Anabadarte. Phillips doesn't use the screen. He bounces down low to Fahey. Fahey, one dribble, no look pass to Darius Wright, who lays it in. (17 for Darius Wright. 6-point game. St. Francis, as they've done all afternoon, just hanging around. Jolly backs in. Help defense from Carly. Jolly keeps with it. Turn around, rolls around the rim and falls. Reed Jolly's come up with some big shots down the stretch. Phillips sets it up for St. Francis. Down low, it's Fahey, double team. Fahey gives it up to Anabadarte. Awkward looking motion, but Anabadarte knocks down the three, and the Saints are within 5. And now they need the stop. They've been able to cut it down to 2 scores several times, but Thomas More has bounced back with some big buckets. Timeout called by Thomas More here. 2:14 to play, 66-61 our score. We were tied at halftime. Thomas More has led by as many as 17 in the game. Trailing by 5 early in the second half, the Fighting Saints went on a 10-0 run. But Thomas More fought back. They went on a 9-0 run of their own to reclaim the lead, and they've held it ever since. We've had 4 ties in this game, just 2 lead changes, both of them having occurred early in the second half. Commendable performance by St. Francis today just to hang around. One of their starters, E.J. Charles, was limited to just 18 minutes. He fouled out, having gone 0 of 4 from the field, but the performances of Darius Wright and Aitor Anabadarte have been outstanding. Carter Fahey has come up big several times here in the second half. And Nadav Gerner has played well for the Fighting Saints too. But is it enough? Thomas More at various times has looked like they were going to pull away. It has not quite happened. Reed Jolly has played a big game for Thomas More. And Wyatt Veith has stepped up in a big way. A guy who has shot just 32% from three-point range this season. Veith today is 6 of 9 from three-point range, and that's a big part of the reason that Thomas More has the lead that they have. Just over 2 minutes to play. Thomas More trying to stick another nail in the St. Francis coffin here. Jolly throws it outside. Casey George for 3. That's off. Offensive rebound, Kyle Ross. George steps back and runs some clock. Now George drives around Carly and fouled from behind by Carly. After he was beat, Carly tried to make up for it with the block. He didn't get that, but he does send George to the line where he has struggled today. Casey George just 2 of 4 on free throws for the game. First shot misses. His free throw struggles continue. Thomas Moore's free throw struggles continue. They're at 39% for the game as a team. They could have just hit 70% of their free throws. This one might be over right now. That's good. 67-61. Anabadarte, Phillips, Carly, Fahey, and Wright on the floor for St. Francis. E.J. Charles has fouled out. Passed into the cutting Carter Fahey. Fahey scores over Noah Pack. Nice job by the Fighting Saints. Not only do they get 2 points, they get them quickly. And now it's just a 4-point game. If St. Francis can come up with a stop on this possession, And they are right there with about a minute to play. This is Jolly, the go-to guy for Thomas More when they've needed a bucket. Kicks it outside to Jones into the corner. George fakes the three, steps in, two-point jumper is good. Big time fake from Casey George. Extends the lead to 6 points for Thomas More, and a timeout is called with 70 seconds to play. Casey George has 12 points. One of three Thomas More Saints in double figures. Reed Jolly has 21, and Wyatt Veith has 18, all of them from three-point range. Three Fighting Saints are in double figures. It's the same three who average in double figures for the season. Darius Wright has 17 points, Aitor Anabarte 16, and Carter Fahey has scored 10. Well, St. Francis has come up with some big buckets down the stretch here, but no question they need another one right now because Thomas More, for the most part, has been able to answer. Thomas More shooting better than 50% for the game. Anabadarte inbounds to Justin Phillips. As the clock starts to run, St. Francis gets into their offense. Right over to Phillips. Around the screen from Anabadarte. Down to the corner, Carly, big three-point attempt, knocks it down. It's a one-possession game with a minute to play. Three-point shooting has been tough to come by all game for St. Francis, but they pick one up in the biggest moment of the afternoon so far. And now Thomas More will try to run some clock and then make it a two-score game. Plenty of time. St. Francis does not need to foul. Timeout called by Thomas More. Critically down the stretch here, Thomas More is in the double bonus. They've committed only 5 fouls, so a Thomas More foul would not send St. Francis to the free throw line the next time they get it. As for St. Francis, they definitely don't want to foul here. If they can play tough defense and force a stop, they'll get the ball back down by only 3 points with around 30 seconds still to play, which is a lot of time in the game of basketball. So they definitely don't want to commit a foul, but if they were to do so, keep in mind the free throw shooting for Thomas More has been a major Achilles heel today. They're shooting just 43% on free throws. And they're not a good free throw shooting team to begin with. As you look at some of the guys we've seen on the floor down the stretch, Noah Pack, Casey George, Kyle Ross, all of those guys are shooting in the neighborhood of 60% for the season and have not shot them well today. Roosevelt versus Madonna coming up next. As this game concludes tomorrow, it'll be St. Francis against Madonna. Thomas More will take on Roosevelt. Four games in 2 days as part of the New Year Classic here, and we have gotten this two-day event started in style. Quite a game between the second-ranked Saints of Thomas More and St. Francis, who's trying to pull off the big upset here on their home floor. Reed Jolly spins, turnaround jumper, short, rebound Anabadarte. St. Francis has the ball down by just 3 points. A lot of time left. They don't need to get all three right here. They'll run their regular offense here, looking for whatever points they can get, although the clock runs down under about 15 seconds. They may at some point have to start looking at taking a three-pointer. Here's Fahey backing in. Carter Fahey against Noah Pack. Down low, is able to bank it home. 9.8 on the clock as St. Francis calls timeout, trailing by only 1 point. They ran a lot of clock there, more, I'm sure, than they would have liked to, but the most important thing was getting points. And they got the 2 points, so they are within one, and now they'll look for a quick steal on the inbounds play. And in failing to do that, they would have to foul right away. And that goes back then To the point I was making during the last timeout, there are a number of guys on the floor for Thomas More that you wouldn't mind fouling. Depends on who's out there, but if it's the same 5 that we've seen, Noah Pack would be probably number 1 on your list of who to foul. Pack has been to the line on 3 separate occasions today, and he has gone just 1 for 5 shooting free throws. Casey George likewise has struggled. George, who's a good shooter, a good jump shooter overall, just hasn't had any success from the line. He's just 59% for the season, and today he's gone 3 for 6. St. Francis is trying to upset the number 2 team in the country. Thomas More is trying to avoid a 3rd loss in their last 4 games. After 2 losses in a row, they beat Bethel in overtime last week. And this is another potential overtime game right here. Thomas More has to go the length of the floor. They do have both Pack and George in. Again, those are the 2 guys who have struggled from the line today. Jolly is the inbounder. Jolly calls timeout. St. Francis wanted a 5-second call, but apparently the timeout was called just before it. And so they'll head back to their respective benches and talk things over again. Thomas More does have 1 timeout still remaining. Reed Jolly, by the way, is the best free throw shooter on the team at 79%, and he's the inbounder. So theoretically, Thomas More could get the ball right back to Jolly after the inbounds play, but with only 9.8 on the clock, you'd have to think that St. Francis will foul immediately if they don't get the steal on the inbounds play. So it's not likely that Thomas More would be able to get the ball back to Jolly to draw the foul. And sure enough, this time it's Casey George who will be the trigger man. Everybody else lines up along the baseline. St. Francis just made a shot, so they can move wherever they like along the baseline. They get it into Jolly, who is fouled right away by Darius Wright. So after their initial inbounds play didn't work, they had to call a timeout. Justin Ray ends up drawing up something completely different the second time around, and they're able to get it right into their best foul shooter. Reed Jolly at 79% for the season. He misses the first free throw. It's contagious right now for Thomas More. Jolly now 1 of 2 from the line today. He's got a game-high 21 points, 8.3 seconds on the clock, and the best he can do here is make it a 2-point game, which is exactly what he does. Thomas More is out of timeout. St. Francis has 1. It appears as though Ryan Marks will not call it, as Thomas More puts on a full-court press. Aitor Anabadarte inbounds to Jake Carley. 8 seconds to go. The Saints can tie or win the game right here. Fahey for 3. Air ball out of bounds with 1 second to go. A deep 3 from Carter Fahey. Obviously, he liked the look. He didn't have to take it. Still had about 3.5 seconds left when the ball left his hands. St. Francis calls timeout. Not over. If they get a steal and a quick bucket, we'll be looking at overtime. But it does appear as though St. Francis may have missed their opportunity. The door was left wide open by Thomas More, who just could not make their free throws down the stretch. Just 7 of 16 from the line. And that nearly destroyed them in this game. But St. Francis with a chance to tie or win the game in the final seconds. Got an open look for Fahey. It wasn't a terrible shot, but he was several feet behind the line. Fahey, not a great three-point shooter. He's been known to make one from time to time. But throughout his college career, he's played much better in the paint than he has on the outside. He's been good from beyond the arc so far this season, but a very low volume three-point shooter. And that time, despite an open look, he airballed it by a pretty good distance. So the only hope for the Fighting Saints here is to either force a 5-second violation or to steal the inbounds play. They very nearly were able to force a 5-second call just moments ago with Jolly inbounding. This time they cannot run the baseline, lobs it into Pack. Pack makes the catch, and there's your ball game. So as soon as they completed the inbounds pass, it was a done deal. Thomas More avoids a scare from St. Francis today. The second-ranked team in the country escapes with a 70-68 victory over the Fighting Saints. Hard-fought game. St. Francis clawed their way back from 17 points down in the first half. And when all is said and done, there's a lot for the Fighting Saints to feel good about after this one, but they do not come away with the win. They fall to 5-5 on the season. Thomas More improves their record to 11-2. Thomas More, after a dominant 9-0 start to the season, has struggled through their last 4, 2 losses, an overtime win, and this one a 2-point victory over St. Francis. But struggling or no, they are 11-2 now on the season. And St. Francis gave it their all. Again, they clawed their way back from 17 points down. They did it all in the first half. They tied the game by halftime. They opened up a 5-point lead early in the second half, but could not hold it. Thomas More went on a 9-0 run to take a 4-point lead and then never trailed the rest of the way. Reed Jolly, the leading scorer today with 22 points. Thomas More also got 18 from Wyatt Veith on 6 of 9 shooting from three-point range, and 12 points from Casey George. St. Francis was led by Darius Wright, 17 points on 7-11 shooting. Aitor Anabarate had 16 points, 6 of 9 from the field. Carter Fahey finished with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. The Fighting Saints fall to 5-5 with the loss, but they won't spend too much time sulking about this one. Their next game starts in just over 24 hours. They'll be taking on Madonna University tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Madonna is taking the floor right now as they get set for their game against Roosevelt University. The Lakers of Roosevelt will be the 1 o'clock p.m. opponents of Thomas More tomorrow. Again, our final score, 70-68. That'll do it for our broadcast here of this one. Stick around because coming up next, it'll be Madonna against Roosevelt. Our next St. Francis broadcast is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hopefully you're with us for that. One final time, Thomas More 70, St. Francis 68. Terry Bonadonna signing off for now. We'll be back shortly for the next game on our docket today. Thanks for tuning into this one. Enjoy the rest of your December 29th.